Bonjour. Welcome, my name is Ainsley. I am a pastry chef in Paris, and today I'm going to show you how to make a classic French frangipane tart. It has minimal ingredients that you can use with either your own poached pears, or if it's not in season, then you can just use a can. So yeah, let's make it. So the first thing we're going to do is make the dough for the tart. So we're going to start with just plain flour, or in France it's called T55. The next thing is the butter. You want to make sure it's cold butter, and if you can, it has at least an 82% fat content. That way it doesn't have as much water. So the more fat the butter has, the more flaky and tender the crust will be. You just want to crush it into the flour because you're trying to get it into small pea-size pieces of butter. So this is what you want. It kind of resembles almost like sand, and you can still see a little bit of butter chunks, but it's much smaller than what you started out with. So to combine the dough, we use an egg, but you only need about 30 grams of an egg. A little egg is about 50 grams. So all you're gonna do, some people ask, how can you only get so much of an egg? So measure it out. So this one was 54. Just put it in a bowl and mix it together. And then we'll just only take out 30 grams of it. And then you just kind of push it down onto itself until it all starts to clump and come together. Cover it with film and put it in the fridge for at least 20 or so minutes. Just form it into a big round flat disc just to make it easier when you roll it out. So while the dough is chilling, we're going to poach the pears. You could use, if it's not in season, you can use pears that are in a can, but we're in pear season, so I thought that we would poach our own pears. And you can also poach them the day before or the night before, because they do need to cool in the syrup, but if you don't have time, you can still do them while the dough is chilling. So we'll start with the poaching liquid first, which is about 1.5 kilos of water with about 400 grams of sugar plus some orange, lemon, and vanilla, just to give it a little bit more of a flavor. It's just regular sugar. So we'll just add a zest of a lemon and an orange. And then I'll just add a little bit of the juice as well. So the next thing I'll add is a vanilla bean. I'm just going to use half of it. You don't really need to use a whole one. You just split it, cut it down the middle. And then you're just going to open it up so you can see all of the little seeds in there. And then use the back of your knife to scrape as much as it out. And then you're going to just scrape all of these seeds into your liquid. You'll put the vanilla in as well, just because it'll, as it poaches, it kind of releases more of the seeds. So we're going to take this to the stove and bring it to a simmer. Just put it on medium-high heat, just so it comes to just a low simmer while we're getting our pears ready. So I just bought small pears that are all roughly the same size and shape, because you don't want pears too big, otherwise they won't fit in your pan. So just some small, cute little pears will do. So we're just gonna peel the pears first. Just gonna remove the tops. I guess you could keep them on, but I'm just gonna remove them. And we'll cut them in half. I like to use a little melon baller to remove the middle with the seeds. Just gonna whisk it together just to see, make sure that all of the sugar has been dissolved and incorporated. So now we'll just add our pears because everything is dissolved and incorporated. I'll turn the heat down to medium just so it simmers. You don't want it to boil or anything. You just want them to simmer for about 20 to 30 minutes until when you insert a knife, it is inserted easily. But to make sure that the liquid remains on top of the pears, an easy trick is just to take a little bit of parchment paper. You're gonna fold it in half, and then fold it in half again. And we'll take some scissors, and we'll just cut a curve. And you should end up with a little circle. So you just place that on top, and you just make sure that the poaching liquid stays on top of the pears. So it kind of creates like a little spa for them. Little sauna spa. Okay, so we'll leave that for 20 minutes, and then while that's cooking, we will go back to the dough for the tart. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna roll out our dough, and I have this tart pan, which is, I think it's 20 centimeter. Just double check. So it's about 9 inches or about 23, 24 centimeters. You can either rub it lightly with a bit of butter. Just make sure you get into all of like the edges and the grooves and on the bottom everywhere. Or you can go the easy way and just spray it, which is what I do. It's much easier and it's a more, I guess, consistent way of preparing. So the dough is nice and chilled, but still feels pliable. And the way I like to roll out my dough is between 2 sheets of parchment with flour. It just makes it easier, and it's less of a mess, and it's easy to put it into the mold. Sprinkle a little flour on top. And just place your second piece of parchment right on top. And when you roll out your dough, you want to start in the center and move out. Just applying a little bit of pressure, not too much, but enough to make it to move. Just add a bit more flour. So we just want to check our dough to make sure it's the right thickness, which it is. Then we want to see if it's the right size to fit in the pan. So just put it in the center, and around the edges you want it to be, the height was 2.5 to 3 centimeters, but you want a little bit more around. So keep one side on parchment, and then I just place it in. What you do next is you take the dough flap and you push it in the center, or push it in the, what's it called, like the corner of the mold. You really want to make sure that you are creating a crease at the edge. And then to remove the edge on top, I just take my rolling pin and I go over the top, and it creates a nice, it cuts it nicely around the edge. And then I'm just going to take a fork and I'm going to prick it all over the bottom. just so it prevents the crust from bubbling. So we're just gonna put this in the fridge for about 30 minutes to an hour. You can also make this the day before, and then when you're ready to bake it, it's good to go. When you have extra dough, you can save it and make another smaller tart, or you could simply roll it out, sprinkle a little sugar, cinnamon on top, and bake it while you're waiting for your tart to be ready. You can really repurpose it however you want. It also freezes well. You can cover this and then freeze it and maybe put it in the fridge the night before just to thaw it out. But yeah, you never waste in pastry. You always repurpose things. Everything can be made into something else. So it's been about 30 minutes now, so we'll just check the pears. Yeah, the knife very easily goes into the center, so those are done. We'll just leave it to cool at room temperature while we're getting the rest of the tart ready. You've been such a good girl. And we'll bake it at about 175 Celsius, or it's about 350 Fahrenheit. So for the filling, it's a very simple, standard, classic frangipane filling, where you only need about 4 ingredients, and it's about equal weights for each one of the ingredients. So we're first gonna start with the butter, and you wanna make sure it's at least at room temperature, because it's much easier to be able to whisk. Because you want to cream the butter and the sugar really well together, make it nice and light before you add any of the other ingredients to it. So it's about equal weight butter to equal weight sugar. I do reduce the sugar a little bit. I normally reduce sugars in my recipe just to make things a little bit more balanced and not too sweet. So we're just going to whisk it till it's, in French it's called, how do you say, blanched, which means that it turns a pale color from all the air that's incorporated by the whisking. And then we'll add the eggs. Make sure they're at room temperature. Otherwise, if they're not, they'll start to curdle the mixture. So just always make sure your eggs and baking are at room temp. And this is my workout for the day. This is the only way I work out. I walk and I bake. So now we're going to add the almond powder. And now we're going to flavor the filling with just like a tiny little sprinkle of salt to balance the sugar. And this is optional, but I always put rum in mine. And the final thing is I do like to add a little bit of vanilla again. You can use almond extract, it's much easier, but I'll put a little bit of the vanilla bean. The tart. Because my oven, this is kind of as brown as my oven will get it. Again, if your oven is a normal good oven, you don't have to do this. My oven, she's special and she needs a little bit more love and care when I bake. So now the pears have cooled, we are going to slice them into rather small slices so it's easy to eat. You don't want like too big of a slice. So it was about 15 because these are also kind of small pears. And then to move it, you just put your knife under and then just move it to the side. So now we're just gonna add the filling right into the center. The tart has cooled a bit. You don't want to add this when the tart is hot, otherwise it'll just melt the butter and be a big gloopy mess. And then you're going to take a spatula and we're going to spread it, but we're going to leave the center a little bit higher than the rest of the tart. So now we're going to add the pears on top. You put it in, you want to press it and kind of fan it out a bit. And then we're gonna just fill in the gaps between the pears with some sliced almonds. And so now we're just gonna put this in the oven, same temperature for about 30-35 minutes, just until the filling has puffed and it's all golden brown. And now we just wait 30 minutes. I think it's ready. Yes. So it's nice and golden, and it feels, the filling feels firm to the touch, so you know it's done. I think I'll give it like 5 minutes to cool, and then we'll glaze it and finish it and eat it. When you make a fruit tart, you always want to glaze it so that it makes it nice and shiny, but it also keeps the fruit to last longer, basically. So this is just a bit of apricot jam that you put a little bit of water, or you can also put the poaching liquid that we used for the pears. That's easy to brush on top of the pear. I'm gonna do a little dusting of icing sugar on the top of the almond. And that's it. That's the pear frangipane, or the, what do we say, the tarte Bourdaloue, as they say in France. Well, thank you for watching me make one of my favorite tarts. And let me know what other type of desserts or cooking videos you would like to see. And yeah, hope you have a good day. Bye.